So, we have a winner. On the 10th of October, the Norwegian Nobel Prize Committee announced that the 2025 recipient of the award was Venezuela's María Corina Machado. But while the news was widely welcomed, it's inevitably drawn attention to US President Donald Trump, who made little secret of his intense desire to win the prize and even claimed that it would probably be awarded to a no one. So, why exactly did María Machado win the award, and should Trump have been considered? Hello and welcome, I'm James Ker-Lindsay, and here I take an informed look at international relations, conflict and security. Peace prizes play an important role in international relations. They offer a chance to honour individuals and organisations that have had an outstanding role in making the world a better place. This could be by ending conflict, promoting reconciliation, or building democracy and human rights, either by local or national activism or through high-level diplomacy. While there are several notable honours, such as the International Gandhi Peace Prize, the Seoul Peace Prize, and a major award from UNESCO, the best known is the Nobel Peace Prize. And despite occasional controversy, it continues to be seen as the highest accolade for those striving to build a better world. The prize was created by Alfred Nobel, a Swedish industrialist best known for inventing dynamite. When he died in 1896, his will specified that his fortune should fund 5 awards covering physics, chemistry, medicine and physiology, literature and peace. A 6th prize in economics was later added in Nobel's memory. In the case of the Peace Prize, he stated it should be awarded to an individual or organisation that had made the most or best work for fraternity between nations, for the abolition or reduction of standing armies, and for the holding and promotion of peace congresses. Unlike the other Nobel Prizes, which are awarded by leading Swedish institutions, the Peace Prize is instead granted by the Norwegian Nobel Committee, appointed by the Norwegian Parliament, a decision that reflected the country's strong pacifism at the time of Nobel's death. The first Nobel Peace Prize was awarded in 1901 to Jean-Henri Dunant, the founder of the Red Cross, and Frédéric Passy, a French pacifist and parliamentarian. Since then, the prize has been awarded to a wide range of individuals and organisations. In addition to recognising traditional peacemakers, such as the architects of the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland, the Camp David Agreement between Israel and Egypt, and the Oslo Accords between Israel and Palestine, notable individual recipients over the past 120 years include Martin Luther King Jr., the Dalai Lama, Nelson Mandela, Mikhail Gorbachev, and Malala Yousafzai. Meanwhile, recipient organisations have included the United Nations, European Union, Médecins Sans Frontières, the World Food Programme and Amnesty International. The Red Cross has even won the award 3 times in 1917, 1944 and 1963. While many of the recipients have been hailed for their work, the prize has also had its fair share of controversy. Occasionally, there's been fierce debate over whether recipients genuinely deserve the prize, either if it was felt to be too political or recognised an incomplete peace process. Most famously, US National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger received the 1973 award for ending the Vietnam War, despite the fact that his co-winner Lee Duc-tho declined the prize, arguing that true peace hadn't been achieved. Meanwhile, others argued that Kissinger was unfit given his role in overseeing a campaign of indiscriminate bombing in neighbouring Laos and Cambodia, as well as his support for autocratic regimes in Latin America. At other times, recipients' later actions have tarnished their reputations, even though there's no formal way to rescind the award. For example, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali awarded the prize in 2019 for ending the conflict with neighbouring Eritrea, later launched a brutal and bloody war in Tigray. Likewise, Aung San Suu Kyi's 1991 award for taking on the military junta in Burma has been undermined by her later defence of the military slaughter of the country's Rohingya minority. And while US President Woodrow Wilson was long regarded as a deserving winner, his reputation has been damaged by later revelations of his racist views. Finally, critics have occasionally accused the committee of overt political bias. For instance, many believed that the 2009 award to US President Barack Obama was far too premature, as he'd only been in office for a few months when he was given the prize. Nevertheless, despite the occasional controversy, the prize continues to hold extraordinary global significance. And it's with this in mind that the 2025 award was given to María Corina Machado. While perhaps less well known internationally than many other previous winners, she's nevertheless become one of the most prominent figures in Venezuela's long struggle for democracy. A former engineer and businesswoman, she entered politics in the early 2000s as a vocal critic of the country's then leader, Hugo Chavez, who was steadily taking the country down the path of authoritarianism. Following this, she's become a leading opponent of the regime of Nicolas Maduro, who succeeded Chavez when he died in 2013. Since coming to power, Maduro has built on the totalitarianism of his predecessor, with disastrous consequences. Not only has he led a massive clampdown on democracy and human rights, but he's also overseen an economic collapse that's seen millions left in poverty or forced to flee the country. On top of this, Venezuela has become a direct threat to regional peace and stability, claiming large parts of neighbouring Guyana. But despite being banned from holding public office and even being forced into hiding, Machado has continued to campaign for democratic change, advocating for free elections, the restoration of human rights, and calling for international pressure on the government in Caracas. In making the announcement, the head of the committee highlighted how this award was being used to highlight the erosion of democracy around the world and the way in which María Machado's brave decision to stand up to repression in her home country has set an example for others fighting against authoritarianism elsewhere. Of course, as worthy as this year's winner is, much of the focus will be on Donald Trump, who desperately wanted the prize. While it wasn't to be his year, it certainly wasn't down to a lack of effort. Aside from openly discussing his wish to win, numerous countries tried to gain his favour by recommending him, including Pakistan, Israel, Rwanda, Cambodia, and even Somaliland. Although it may be tempting to dismiss all this as laughable, there is in fact a more serious side to the story. Firstly, and in some ways, it isn't such an unrealistic idea. After all, since taking office, he's been obsessed with resolving conflicts to try to win the prize, even though his claims of ending various wars have become increasingly exaggerated. And while some will point to his Gaza deal as being a prize-winning achievement, it was only reached a day or so before the prize announcement and still hasn't been partially implemented. In any case, the lure of the prize has certainly been a positive incentive. That said, and remembering that the decision was indeed taken well before the announcement, several factors worked against him from ever actually winning. Apart from threatening his neighbours and allies, abandoning key treaties and breaking international law, his rush to end conflicts often overlooked fundamental principles of peace and justice. Ukraine is a perfect example. His suggestion that Kyiv should give up territory to Russia not only rewarded Moscow for its aggression, but also risked setting a dangerous precedent that military force could bring about territorial gains. But there's also another crucial side to this whole story. While Trump was fixated on winning the prize for stopping conflict, his other decisions have brought suffering and insecurity to millions around the world. For example, closing USAID, a huge aid donor, has increased child poverty and hunger, undermined economic development, and often harmed efforts to bring peace elsewhere in the world. In this sense, in his desperate attempt to win the award for stopping wars, he's completely gone against the very ethos of the Nobel Peace Prize in other ways, something he might wish to consider over the next 12 months. I hope you found that useful. If so, here are some more videos that you might find interesting. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next video.